In 1837, the 8th president was inaugurated and the country held its breath. The price of cotton plunged and the banks began to fall. The telegraph was invented and our language took new shape, while the chains of chattel slavery still held millions in its grip. And here, surrounded by white oaks and red maples, amid the foothills of the Piedmont and within a whisper of the Catawba River, the doors of a small Carolina college opened for the first time. But it did not open these doors to all. There were those who still believed education was not meant for any woman. There were those who still believed education was not meant for those who were Black. But simply because Black people were not allowed into the college does not mean they did not help to build it. It was enslaved hands that dug their fingers into the river's soft soil and extracted clumps of clay. It was enslaved hands that would mold the wet earth by strength and sweat and transform it into stone. It was enslaved hands that constructed the fire to harden the stone into blocks that would encircle these grounds. Through work and force and time and blood, they produced 250,000 bricks that built this college, a school that has given rise to preachers and presidents, architects and artisans, scientists and surgeons, educators and engineers. It is through their labor that these buildings were erected. It is through their toil that this college came to be. With these hands, they cleared the land, they cut the brick, they swung the axe, they chopped the wood. With these hands, they held their love, they hugged their child, they clapped in church, they prayed for freedom. With these hands, they constructed buildings they were not allowed to enter. They cooked food they were not allowed to eat. They washed clothes they were not allowed to wear. The enslaved in Davidson were trapped in bondage, but let us not say they were defined by it. The enslaved labor is what built this college, but let us not say it is what made them. In the corners of the archive, we can find clues of who they were, the idiosyncratic elements that show us lives of people beyond the page. There are records of birthdays and funerals, first words and final goodbyes. There are hymns sung from the pews of old churches. There are stories told from the mouths of old men. From enslavement to abolition, from Reconstruction to Jim Crow, we say their names as reminders that they were here and are not forgotten. Scipio, Hiram, Tom, Joe, Otho, Louis, Alex, Aaron, Jack, Jim, Holdsclaw, Sid, Lizzie, Amy, Susan, Priscilla. There are so many names whose fingerprints remain along these walls, and so many names of men, women, and children we'll never know. There is no way to understand Davidson without understanding all of its history, all that we should be proud of, and that for which we should make amends. We are a school that reflects the contradictions of this country, the cognitive dissonance of a land that is both given and taken away. Black students study in buildings that are named after enslavers and walk past fraternities who have flown the Confederate flag. The first 3 presidents of this school each owned other human beings, and it took 129 years before the first Black student received a degree. We cannot run from this part of our story. We must wake up and face it every day. It is not a finish line we cross, but a new way of living out our aspirations, of demanding we become the place we tell the world we want to be. So here we stand, between oak and elm, between stone and brick, between truth and honor, between past and present. Here we stand, between Hiram's wide smile and Scipio's sweet songs, between Susan's small hands and Lizzie's big laugh. With their hands, this place was made, and with our voices, we shall remember. Thank you.